Okay, welcome everybody. We don't have microphones, so I'm gonna try to speak louder. And this is a small room, so I'm sure everybody can hear each other. I have my cow and also Lisa down there. If they can't hear, that means I need to speak louder. So I see a thumbs up. First, I want to thank Lisa, who is ED for District 2 Council and the White Bear Business Association. She helped me organize this and host us here at the Hayden Heights Library, and thank you, Lisa. I also want to acknowledge and make known my staff too. My cow, she's sitting in the back. For those of you who have further questions or needs from the legislature, do call my office, and my cow will be speaking with you. When sometime I'm up and about a lot, so my cow is the one that you could get the message to me. I'm gonna do a little bilingual. I know that most of you understand and use English, and we'll use that as our general communication here. But at time, I will go back and reiterate it in Hmong. We also had Hmong TV here. The Bay Hmong TV and the Twin City News, both are here. I think one of them is live cast. So you being here also help those that watch us from remote, so they can, it could be informational to them as well. But thank you all for being here, and want to thank, both media groups, like the Bay Hmong TV, and the Twin City News for covering this. Also want to thank DEED, Department of Employment and Economic Development. And today with us is Maureen Ramirez. She has been a helpful contact and has been, engaging with the community since the beginning of the pandemic, keep us informed from time to time. So thank you, Maureen, for being with us. And I'm gonna let her be the one that take over at this point. I'm just mainly doing MC, coordinating and facilitating, making sure that we move along orderly and on time. So before I let you speak, I wanna say similar things in Hmong too. And when you present, if I felt that it's needed for me to reiterate in Hmong, I'll ask you for a pause, and we'll have that. So 我讲到个咩从来说多个考个莫路中了嘛呀第三节路做被从来说多只下cho cái xí lô ăn kí lô bây giờ mong lô cho mẹ lô tên đạo để có chuyện chính mà có application tại nó ok là để đi sang có bé apply tại nó ok một số vấn thi nên cậu vô là chăng để là cái Maureen mà lấy khá cho mẹ tại vô apply lấy chăng ha cái nhô lấy chăng lô là sáng tạo cái bang lấy chăng tức là bộ chuyện bang mẹ apply ha mẹ tỉ tỏ lấy chăng mẹ mà lên cho Maureen thẳng. Okay, and feel free to, we'll do presentation first and then Q&A. So I know Maureen's presentation will be roughly 10 or 15 minutes or so, and then we'll spend the rest of the time Q&A. So go ahead, Maureen.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Thank you, Senator. Thank you for coming. It's nice to be here with you. And I work at DEED as the director for the Office of Economic Opportunity. And yes, I have been trying to get out and connect with people about DEED's programs. And we're excited to be here to be able to tell you about this. So I'll talk about the Minnesota Main Street COVID relief grants, and then take your questions. So we have $62.5 million for small business relief grants. We know that it's been hard on small businesses, it's been hard on everyone, right? The pandemic, and it's still here and it's still happening. So the legislature invested in small businesses And so we have about $62 million, and we're gonna do these as grants, so money that you don't have to pay back. And our selection process is also a random selection process, more like a lottery. Maybe you know some of the earlier programs that were in the pandemic were on a first come, first serve. So the fastest that you were, then you had more access to that funding. And this one is not that way, because we know that that wasn't very helpful for people that maybe didn't have the fastest way they could do things, or worked so closely with their bank. So this is a random selection and a lottery, and is very similar to the program we did last summer. So I'll tell you a little bit about it. We're focusing on businesses that have been hit the hardest by the pandemic. So businesses need to be able to demonstrate some financial hardship because of the pandemic. That's lost revenue. So either your business was a business that was shut down through one of the executive orders, and if you were shut down, you probably know who you were, right? You couldn't be open, or you had to be open less hours or restrict the customers you could see. So that's one category of business who had financial hardship. If you didn't ever have a shutdown order that affected your business specifically, but you still lost revenue in the pandemic, if you compare 2020 to 2019, then you can be eligible for this grant, because plenty of businesses weren't directly told to shut down, but your customers still might not have come in, right? Everything changed, and so businesses struggled. So if you have lost revenue of 10% between your 2020 year and your 2019 year, then you can be eligible for these grant dollars. So the size of the grant, the minimum size is $10,000, and it goes up to $25,000 depending on the number of employees that you have. And you don't have to pick the number, right? We just look at the number of employees you have, and then you qualify for that number of grants. And the size of a small business is up to 200 full-time equivalent employees. So it's kind of big. So you can have up to 200 full-time equivalent. That means you could have more if they're part-time workers, right? But 200 full-time equivalent. Anything under that, you're eligible to apply. So for-profit businesses and some nonprofits will be eligible. Nonprofits that have a fee-for-service model, nonprofits that might sell tickets. You might think about theaters or some other. So there's some rules for nonprofits, which I could talk about if you want to ask questions about that. You have to be located in Minnesota. It's a Minnesota program. So your business has to be in Minnesota, and you as the owner, you have to live in Minnesota. Your business has to be open now with plans to continue being open. So a business that had to close would not be eligible, or a business planning to close would not be eligible. So we will ask you if you have plans to continue the operations for your business. When it comes to the ownership, it's a 50% ownership is a Minnesota resident. And the amount of business you're doing. So businesses should have earned at least $10,000 in 2020 or 2019. So the very small businesses that didn't earn $10,000 might be more like a side gig or something someone does. Those ones are not eligible. You need to have earned at least $10,000 in your sales or revenue of 2020 and 2019. But you can be a home-based business. Home-based businesses are eligible. You can be an independent contractor or solo proprietor business. You could be the only employee. That's fine. Those are eligible. You just have to have earned at least $10,000. So that's good. That's different than last summer. A lot of those types of businesses were not eligible this time. This time they are. And then out of that $62 million is the big amount of money that's available. But we are setting specific amounts of money available for specific businesses. So if you are, and those are listed here, if you are majority owned, your owner is a military veteran, there's $2 million set aside for those kind of businesses. Same for if you're owned by a woman. There's specific money set aside for businesses owned by Black or Indigenous or people of color, right? To make sure that we're directing that money to people of color who own businesses. And then also if your business has 6 people or fewer, there's specific money set aside for very small businesses. We are also giving priority to businesses that did not receive funding from previous state programs. So there were different things available last year. Lots of different things you probably remember. Some of them were federal, the PPP loan and the EIDL, the EIDL, emergency something something, right? Those are both federal. The state programs were this program last summer, so it was called the Small Business Relief Grant. So if you already got a $10,000 grant from last summer, you would not have priority for this summer. There was a special state appropriation towards movie theaters and convention centers, so that's probably not, maybe you own one, but so if you got that, then you don't have priority here. There was a state emergency business loan program last year. So if you got a state emergency business loan last year, you would not have priority. And there was some county funds that kind of ran through the state last year. But if you had so in order to spread out funding to businesses that haven't gotten it yet, we will ask you about those programs. Did you get something from there or not? And ask you to report that. But on the PPP and the EIDL, if you got private, something from the neighborhood association or something from a foundation, those don't count against you in this at all. So the application for this is open right now. It started yesterday. It stays open for 10 days, so it's kind of fast. It's kind of short. So that means you have until September 29th at 11:59, right? So up until midnight, you can do it, but we encourage you to do it sooner than that. It's an online application portal from our website, and I think I'll write on the board before we leave. And you log in and say that you want to apply. You give your email address. That's the way that we'll contact you. And we just ask people to use one email address that goes to you. Last summer, we had lots of helpers helping businesses, and sometimes the helper would put their email address for more than one business, and that made it hard to do the communication back and forth. So absolutely, people can help you with your application, and we're very grateful to helpers who are doing that, but just make sure it's your unique email address goes directly back to you. That's the way we'll communicate with you. So the application is there, and you can go online. You get asked a variety of questions. Who owns your business? What's your address? Just trying to establish that you are a Minnesota resident and that you own a business in Minnesota. Because you can't be from Wisconsin, you can't live in Iowa to do this. There are not citizenship questions or like you have to prove your residency by proving permanent resident status or citizenship status. There's not that. There's just if you get mail to your house and that's the house you live in, that proves your residency. So it's not further than that. Also, when we ask you to say if you own the business and if you're a woman or you're a person of color or a veteran, there's not like a whole certifying process to do that. You just answer those questions yes. And if you answer those questions yes, then we put you in that category. So it's not, those parts of it aren't harder than that. We'll ask you how many full-time employees that you have, your plan for continuing business operations, and then we will ask for some documents, some of your most recent tax documents, right, because we're checking for revenue and also checking for a revenue loss. Ask for some financial statements, those kind of things. There's a few things listed here, right? Proof of your ongoing business operations, that you're still open, and then your residency, but you can show us mail or you can show us a state ID or something like that. So anytime between now and September 29th, 11:59, everyone who applies during that time would have the same chances to get entered into the random selection or the lottery that happens. We really did work with the Minnesota Lottery folks who helped us design the way to make the selection. So it's random, but we hope that's more fair, or we're trying to do it that way to be more fair for people. Our agency, DEED, will check the eligibility of the applications and then set up the lottery. I mean, it's all on the computer. It's not like big boxes, but make an arrangement, put folks in the categories, do that selection process. We're hoping to be doing that in October. And then we will work with nonprofits in the community to tell businesses that they've been selected, and then the business will work with the nonprofit to do the paperwork, to sign the contract, to get the money to you. So you might know some of the CDFIs or business assistance nonprofits around the neighborhood and around the state. So we just contract with them. You'll also hopefully hear them promoting the program for the next 10 days because they're helping to get the word out, and then they will help do the paperwork with you just to confirm if you get selected. And then I'll maybe say what you can use the funds on, and then we can take questions after that. So she's got markers too, so, okay. The grant money that you get, again, it's a grant, so it's not due to be paid back. Regular business expenses and ongoing operations, so that can be rent, that could be a mortgage, that could be utility bills. You can use it for some repair or equipment, things you're doing for your business. So it's a little bit open for you to spend it on the business expenses that you have.
Okay, well, thank you, Maureen. And so maybe I should summarize it in Hmong.
A little bit, yeah.
A little bit. And appreciate you keeping your pace, so even
And
those...
maybe I'll write on the board
Sure.
while you do that.
Sure. Cho nhà cứ Maureen nhà hát tao nó để bé cho legislator bé pan chỉ có sự đó mà bé mua cho nhà ta House at the Senate đó chỉ bé pan le 2% cho bé million bé mua họ cho 2 million nó cho lưu cho COVID-19 grant relief bé họ mua sang cho million mua cho họ business revitalization ha đó chỉ nếu nó để họ lưu bé thẳng là bé thẳng cho họ grant cái mua cho COVID-19 relief để họ nói cho grant để sai đó ta mấy chỉ tao thể chắc ăn nó chỉ là nhà trái thì Maureen tôi hà cho ta họ qualify giờ lấy chăng giờ ta mấy chỉ tao cho grant nó xong tao nó bé mua họ COVID có chỗ nó để thế mấy mua phải chỗ tao ra xong đó giờ mấy muaตัวนี้เขาหลุดจะไม่จะช่างเจ้าเล่งแต่ไม่มั่วฝิ่งโจตอนเราจะห้ามไม่ยอจะลังโหลคือในฝิ่งเจอเนี่ยจะจื้อแต่ไม่มั่วฝิ่งโจตอนเราขอแกรนเนาะจะโหลโอยกเราตัวอย่างเลยมาเลยโมรินเนี่ยหาจะโหลเทไม่เคยว่างเคยเจ๊จะโหลหลาตัวนี้โอเขาหรือจะโหลเทไฟฟ้าตัวนั้นเจ๊กูจะหาย่อๆเนาะซื้อให้ปลาไม่จิตเต้าขัดตื้นเราไม่หมันนุ่นสีจะสั่นหนุ่มมองหรอกูมาเลยใช้จอมมารีนกูมาเลยจากการหาหนุ่มมองสีห้ากูหาดูอเมริกันสีห้าอย่าไม่หามารีนจะต้องหรอกูมาเลย reiterate โอลังกีโจมารีน and so Before we take the next step for Q&A, I also want to acknowledge my House of Representative, John Thompson is here, 67A. And John is, I just say in Hmong that we responsible for the appropriation of this money. And the money go to deed to administer it, to design the guideline. Then, she also mentioned about the CDSI. Once you are approved for grant, then you will be working with a bank or CDSI certified to manage your project. So that's pretty much it.
And the address for the application is here at the bottom, and then this email address is specific for questions on this program, the fastest that you can get answers. If you have a question we don't answer today, or you talk to someone else and they have a question, that email address will get answered. And any questions we get, we'll also post them online so people can read through. I can take questions.
Sure. Any questions? Yes.
Yes, I have a question.
Yeah.
The time seems the time frame seems to be very tight. Is there going to be an issue of computer jamming like before? There are so many applications that they jam the computer system.
The time frame is kind of short. Yes, it's 10 days. That was the legislature, so I'm sorry. Thank you, legislators. But we can't make it longer. That's why we want you to do it ahead of time. So it opened yesterday. I didn't hear about any issues, but I also didn't hear how many people maybe went to go and try and do it. So we would want you to do it ahead of time, not wait till the last minute. You can also start and stop, and it'll save for you so you can go back to it. So you could go in today and set up your profile and, that you plan to apply. You could look at the questions, and then you could get all your stuff together and go back and finish it. If you do have problems, you can tell us. We did have some issues with we had a deadline last week for a different program where there was a wrong email address, and because we knew the wrong information was out there, we gave people some extra days to get it back in. So in the chance that something happens, we'll work with people when that happens, but otherwise we want you to do it sooner than the 29th.
Yes, Ty.
Just a curiosity question. Since this is a randomly picked type of program, is there a more favorable type of questionnaire that is programmed into this application?
No, the questions, you have to answer all the questions. You can't leave them blank. You have to upload all the documents, and you can't leave them blank. But otherwise, it's not the kind of grant where you're, convincing someone you have the best idea of how to do the thing. So it's not reviewed that way. It's just reviewed, are you an eligible business? Did you submit all the correct information? Okay, then you go into the lottery. But then the lottery, where there's some preference or priority in some places, are for owned by women, owned by veterans, owned by people of color, and very small businesses, just to make sure that there's some dedicated funding to businesses that meet those criteria. And then there's also a split between the between the Metro and the Greater Minnesota.
So is there a breakdown of funds toward the people of color, owned by women?
Yes.
So it's allocated towards that?
Yes. So I know it's either 2 or 2.5 million for the military veterans and the women. I think it's 18 million for the Black, Indigenous, and people of color. And maybe that number for 6 Below. It's not written on here, and I can't get my computer to do it for me, so that's off the top of my head. But it's like that.
So historically with applications like this, you tend to forget the process leaves out, because of the language barrier, it leaves out people in our brothers and sisters in the Hmong community. Also historically, with these, we saw this with the PPP, historically, if you don't have the knowledge, so will it be, I guess to make a long question short, will it be someone who can help our brothers and sisters navigate this process so that the money doesn't always go back to, it seems like this money always goes to the same people all the time. And it's very hard for especially our young brothers and sisters, our Somali brothers and sisters, and of course to access these funds. So, I don't know, I guess if we're not at the table, we're on the plate.
Sure. And I think Maureen will provide us that information too, like also the technical support, there will be a phone number for that as well, right? The both technology and technical in terms of application.
Yes,
Yeah.
so yes, right, like that, yes, that happens. That's why we tried not to be first come, first served the way the PPP went out the door so fast.
Mm-hmm.
So trying to make a random selection and give each person who applies anytime in the 10 days gets some of the same chance of being selected was one way to help that a little bit. The language translations that we have done at DEED, we have some flyers. They're translated to Hmong, Somali, Spanish, and Vietnamese. And then we have a video there too, so you can watch, after this, you can watch the short video. It's how to apply, I think it's about 4 minutes. And that's also in Hmong, Spanish, Somali, and Vietnamese. And then we were going back and forth a little on what the translation of the application itself would be. And I think we settled on there'll be translated versions in those languages of what the application questions are. So when you go into the application, that is in English, but you will have a set of questions you can download to see what they are. And then helpers or assistants to do that, because it's still a job to get on the computer and put everything in the right place. Yes, we have contracts with local nonprofit organizations that already are the folks in the community doing business assistance and support. And so I'm just looking for that list. I think it's 12 people, because I want to name the right ones, who are doing their own promotion and their own engagement sessions. We tried to do some of the translation for them, but they can also do their own translation into different languages as well.
And if I can add that, I think Hmong American Partnership is one of
Yes,
the
yeah.
organization.
Here they are. Yep.
Let's see, Horn of Africa, I believe, or
African Development
African
Center,
Development Center.
African Economic Development Solutions, Hmong American Partnership, Latino American Development Center, LEDC, MCCD, the Metropolitan Consortium of Community Developers, MEDA, the Economic Development Association, Neighborhood Development Center, NDC, New American Development Center, Next Stage, Neon over on the north side, and Women Venture.
Okay, I'm going to go to that gentleman there, but I want to throw a little response to Representative Thompson as well. It will be our job to make sure that the money is distributed proportionally to people of color, and the agency will be audited by the legislative auditor. So we will be the one that hold them accountable. So, yep. So go ahead.
First and foremost, thank you, Senator and Representative Thompson, Maureen, everybody who's got a part in coordinating this today for us. I guess my question goes to, once you are so lucky to be a recipient of the funds, is there a reporting status or situation where they want to see how you allocate the funds? I mean, some of the grants that were given out last year required you to submit reports of how much went to bills, how much went to rent, how much went to actually daily operational costs. So, I don't know, I just need to go further into details of the grant, but is there something like that where you need to provide and
With the, so all those list of organizations I just read off, so those organizations are doing the promotion and support to people to apply now, and then they also are the ones who will do the administering of the $10,000 grants. So businesses who get drawn will get assigned to Hmong American Partnership or Latino Economic Development Center or Neon, and then they'll do the paperwork back and forth, which will include some reporting, but I don't know the details
Sure.
or what level of
Sure.
detail they'll ask you for. I think they will ask you how you spent it,
Of course.
and you'll have to tell them, but I don't know, in comparison to other grants or other longer term things where maybe you're spending money over a longer period of time and it's a little bit more you have to do.
Seems like that array of, criteria seems pretty open for, obviously it's all different types of businesses, so, you're not limited to just utilities or.
Yeah, no, you'll, and they'll give you some direction, yes, and they're the ones to ask for, which we did it that way so that we didn't take all the questions or have enough staff to try to do it all for each individual business.
Okay.
Thank you guys.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
Yep.
have a question to follow up with that. Thank you for
Okay.
asking your question. We're similarly concerned about that too. Like, so for I'm from HAP, and so I'm part of the organization that we distributing.
Thank you.
Also working with the long speaking business owners. And my name is Nancy Txhawm, so please come and talk to me and I can give you my business card if you, I'd love to support your business. But to follow that, what should I tell business owners in terms of the reporting? Like, should I have them start collecting their receipts once they get their, like, what should I prepare our clients, our business owners?
I can get a more specific answer for you on that, right? But in general, I mean, yes, keeping your receipt or, having the documentation of what you spent it on helps. But let me ask, because I don't work with the
Gotcha.
program at that stage, so I have to learn that too.
Thank you.
And just from my observation alone from last time is that the agency just monitor and manage the recipient to help them submit the report back, and so it's not a hefty workload for the recipient. Lots of time when you get government or state funding, you have to write a huge report, and we know small business like yourself, don't even have the capacity to spend a whole day writing, and that's why we need agency like HAP to make sure that the report is well presented back to deed. Yeah, so, and I'm sure they will train you.
Yeah, I look forward to
They will
Yeah.
train you. They will train a pack of you. My question lead on to that is
Yeah.
that can they choose the CDSI that they want? Let's say that they are being approved by the grant. Or do they have to go to the one that I assigned to them?
The first way we do it is you go the one you get
Mhm.
assigned to. If
Mhm.
there's maybe some large conflict or there's a real thing where that doesn't work out for you, then you can tell us about that, and here and there we can maybe do a little changing around. But in general, we would look at type of business, language needs, geography, who are you probably closest to, and try to do the sorting that way. Then we're trying to balance all the different orgs, who are they getting, and is that also a little bit equal, so.
Okay, yes, Mr.
Yeah,
Yang.
for example, my application is being denied. So do I have a reason for that or no reason?
There would be two things that could happen if your application was not eligible, something, either your business or your business size or something about you is not eligible. Some people will not receive a grant funding because they put in an application but they're not eligible. Other people who put in an application but they're eligible but they didn't get selected, it's just gonna be because it was the lottery, and so it's just random who gets picked and who doesn't. Again, it's not like the grants where you're really trying to write a grant application that's really convincing about your work. It's just put in the application, submit all the they ask you to submit, and then it's a lottery. It's just random. And we will put a list afterwards of everyone who got one, so you'll be able to see businesses who did. We have the list of everyone from last summer, and last summer we had those set aside categories too, so that you can see that yes, we did give 18 million to, and it was a little higher, to businesses owned by people of color, because yes, we're trying to balance what's hard for small businesses to do in all their reporting with information we need to get back to the legislature. So we're trying to also show, right, that we did what we needed to do with the funds.
Okay, Ma?
Will the percent of income loss, will that be used as a variable in the selection process? Because I know some businesses were affected greater than others, and will that be used? I know it's a lottery, but will that be?
No, we won't sort or prioritize people based on amount of revenue lost. If you meet the threshold that your business lost at least 10%,
So anything over 10%?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Question.
yes.
You mentioned that in order for the businesses to qualify, they need to show 10% lost revenue from 2019 and 2020. What if these businesses were starting in the beginning of the pandemic, so they opened their business in January of 2020? They made the 10,000 minimum, but there's nothing to compare to show that loss of revenue. Will they qualify as well?
That's a good question. The new businesses that open in 2020 can be eligible, yes, can apply, but because they can't prove a comparison, they need to be a business in the category that got one of the shutdown orders. That's the only way we can then use to measure financial hardship for that business. So then restaurants, bars, I don't know, hair salons, anyone in the year 2020 who was ordered to shut down would be an eligible business because that shutdown order, that's financial hardship. So you don't have to compare between the 2 years.
Thank you.
Yep, back,
I'm
yeah,
so
go ahead,
sorry.
go ahead,
The
go ahead.
follow-up question
Yeah.
is, will the business will be required to provide a W-9 as, we're getting a grant of $10,000 to $25,000 and they're expecting to pay taxes on it. So will they need to required to submit that?
That is, again, between that's on the other side, which I don't know, I just don't work with as much, so I can't answer it now, but I can follow up.
Thank you. And thank you, Senator Hayer and Senator Thompson for putting this together.
Sure, and we may look at the, tax forgiveness at some point. We'll see how that go. Yep,
Thank you.
yep.
So, back to, I know I walked in with the late, and I do apologize. In the literature, it doesn't state anything about, sole proprietor or individual LLC or,
Oh.
that's here, but I remember you saying that, as long as you are one of those, it doesn't state it in here, because for some of us, we don't have employees.
Yeah.
I myself don't have employees, so.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, we don't have everything here,
Right.
yes.
But based
From,
on what I was reading here, so it looks like, hey, do I actually qualify, because we're looking at, FTEs here.
yeah, no, it's, you can be the only employee,
Okay.
you can be home-based, oh, I know the other one. You don't need a physical location for your business. It doesn't have to have a freestanding office or anything. And you can be an independent contractor. Yeah, so that, if you go online for you will see more of that, yes. But that's all good news, again, because those folks were not eligible last summer.
Right.
Just the rules were a little different, right? And then we heard that was hard, and then the legislature changed it, and so we got a little more room for folks like that this time.
Thank you.
Mike?
Hi, do you know when we will be able to find out when the grants are awarded? Because I know that the timeline is 10 days here, but when will we be notified if we?
So we're aiming for October, right? That we have to do some of the verification to see that who's going into the lottery is eligible, then we do the drawing, then we do some confirmation again, and so then sometimes you go back into the pool, right? If like 3 businesses turned out to be not eligible, then you go back a little bit. But that's our, October is our goal for doing the lottery itself. Then we then we assign the businesses through the nonprofit agencies and then do all the contact. And then eventually Deed will put the list so you'll be able to look and see who got them.
Do you know how many
Yes.
people will be drawn out of the lottery?
I don't know I mean, no, this year it's a little harder to guess that because the size of grants is gonna be a little different depending on the size of the business. Last summer, all the grants were $10,000. There was $70 million, so that's what, like 700-ish businesses. This year, because the size of the grant could be 10,000, or it could be, I think the middle is either 15 or 20 or 25. So that's also gonna depend on if bigger businesses get drawn, then that money's gonna go out in $25,000 chunks. If smaller businesses get drawn, then it goes out in $10,000 chunks. So we just don't know.
Let's go this way again.
So is there any a cap or an X number of applications that will be in the lottery?
There's no cap on the total number of businesses who might apply and be in the lottery. The cap is on, this happens to some people, one business owner for one business can apply. If you're a business owner with 6 locations in Minnesota, you can't submit 6 applications for each location. You have to pick one and do it. If you're a owner in multiple businesses and they have multiple locations, it's just one per owner. That's kind of a cap, but otherwise, no, it's wide open. If we do a really good job promoting it, we will get lots and lots of applications.
Yes, yeah, how Paris, yeah.
Hi, I'm Paris Dunning. I'm the director of the East Side Area Business Association.
Oh, good.
Thank you, Senator, and thank you, Representative, and Deed for helping us put this together, and businesses from the community too. My concern is about that promotion component. 10 days, to the gentleman who spoke first of all, this is a full room, which is great. It's great to see that. None of my members are here except for the representatives and the senator. I'm concerned about getting the news out to other businesses, especially businesses on the east side, that it may take a couple of iterations to get in their ear at the moment, let alone to them to their computer and ready to go. I hope that my businesses are as prepared as you all are to take the information and run with it once we leave here. But I guess I just want to express concern that the legislature put such a tight turnaround on this for $62 million. And I'm curious, maybe the question is for you, Senator,
Sure.
or Representative, as to why that timeline was so tight. And I guess the follow-up then, Maureen, would be like, is this the best, the place that you've put up there, is that the best place for us to push people to try to get the information into people's hands, to try to light the fires that need to get lit to get people going? Help us just know what the most direct path is to get people up to the bar, because we really want this money on the east side. We don't want this money just to go randomly other places. You want this money to go very specific places, and those folks aren't necessarily the folks who are waiting at their computer to get my email. They're not. They're out doing 100 other things and juggling. I'm impressed and excited to see many of them here today. But as I said, my members aren't. And I learned about the meeting yesterday, and I'm very pleased to have gotten the invitation. But we're already a day in on a 10-day timeline. So that the fuse is short on this one. Can you talk a little bit about
Sure,
why it's so short?
No, I think,
And then where we go with
Sure.
the fire?
Yep.
there's the old saying about the detail is in, the devil is in the detail, so I suppose it got all mixed up, and so, a small detail like that, I had to admit that I overlooked that myself, but it's been talked over by, many people and within the cluster, a smaller leadership to decide between partisan, and so the final outcome is at 10 days, but I will make sure that if 10 days not enough, I want to keep my ear open and advocate for that as well. That's something that I will have to have conversation with Deed Commissioner and see if we can let go. But that's the whole point, that I want to have this televised, live on Facebook as well, so I can kick off folks in the east side here to make them aware of how immediate need it is. That's why I jumped to the gun to make sure that we are in the game. So, but we'll do what we can, and if people still lag behind, I wanna put much effort in considering that and wanna see if there's could be some possible way down the road. And if we don't use that money, there will be maybe another round, or we can look at another round again. And this is for, we will prioritize people who had not received
Yes.
the funding before from last time, or people that are still suffering now, trying to get them back to normal business. So, yeah, good question though, good question on that part.
And I can add so we've contracted with other agencies, right, the CDFIs across the state who are doing some of the work, the promotional work with us. But we do have available some translations, some written and and some graphics and other kind of materials in a bit of a communications toolkit that I can make sure you get, so at least you have stuff that's easy to share.
Great.
And hopefully targeted to some of the languages that we know folks need. And then, again, we knew this was coming, and we even pushed the start date out a bit to try to accommodate us getting as much stuff as we could ready. I know it still didn't reach you yet, so that's not helpful for you, but we're hustling, and I will share more stuff with you.
And I wanna say that the application is simple.
Okay.
You know, it's not elaborate.
Yeah.
I would say even less complicated than when you apply for your first job at 16. You know, so the application is more like that. And if you need help, there's phone number here. There's the agency will help you too if you do want to go that route. But I would say just go online and fill it out, complete it. If there's anything that didn't turn out right at the deed end, someone will reach out to you, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. That email gets answered. Yes.
So John, right?
Yes.
Yeah, John.
So, from what I'm hearing, so this is for businesses that were open before COVID, is that correct?
So kind of.
Well, because I mean, the reason why I'm saying is,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, I'm a very new business, you could say, and so, I mean, like, we don't have, we have financial statements, but we've never done our taxes with it or anything like that. And so, would that be something that qualifies also?
So unfortunately, it's not targeted towards brand new 2021 businesses, and it's not asking folks about 2021. You could be new in 2020, like your question. New in 2020, but affected by a shutdown order is eligible.
Okay.
New in 2021 is not eligible. New in 2020, but did not get ordered to shut down is also not eligible for this one. So it really is a focus on the businesses open in 2020, and then some of them comparing to 2019, or some of them being under a shutdown order. That, again, that's the limits of this program, and other things that come next or other things that are out there might be easier for newer businesses, but this one is.
And let me respond to your question too. If you're not qualified for this, is COVID-19 relief, and if it doesn't apply to you, while you're at it, you can go to DEED website, and they will list the grants and also loans program that DEEDs provide, which you can access to more money than the pool money we have here. That has been an ongoing before COVID-19, and we're still gonna provide more funding, but do look at DEED website for possible funding. Yeah. Yes.
Okay, I think I know the answer to this question already, but I'm gonna ask it anyways for the people that might be thinking about it as well. I was looking through my emails and obviously applied last year and didn't get it because it's a lottery, of course, and maybe I didn't qualify for whatever reason, but because I submitted an application last year, does that, again, I think I know the answer already, does that already, put me into that pool process where, it rolls over into the next selection process? Does that make sense?
Oh,
Am I asking that correctly?
it makes sense, and that would have been pretty helpful for you, yes.
Yeah.
But No.
But I assume it's because it's a new tax year and they probably want the documentation.
Well, and even, I think that a few questions have changed a little. It is still simple, and we did try to keep this part of it as simple as we could. But it's a little different from last year, so it's, even if you did it last year, you have to do it again
Okay.
this year.
And again, I knew the answer, but.
Yeah, no, it's a good question. I haven't been asked that one before.
Okay, let's go to her before Representative Thompson.
Thank you. For promoting this program, because I think this is amazing and we need to get going, do we partner with LEDC? I work for Cruz, by the way.
Mhm.
So
Good.
do we partner with LEDC, or do you have something that we can utilize to promote in social media? I mean, we have offices in Wilmar, Austin, Minneapolis, and St. Paul. So how do we support this, and get going with it?
Yes, so I can, from the website, you can download the flyers and the videos.
And you can post those ones. Those ones are okay for
Good.
us to
Yeah,
share, right?
yes, you can share those all the time. I have some other small set of images that I can send you that are promo things. They're not translated in Spanish, but you could share any of those. And then, yes, working with LADC, they should be producing, well, not they should be, but they could be producing more or
Yeah.
having more. I'm doing a session with them tomorrow at 3 o'clock, I think, so we'll make sure you have that information.
We're here to refer, and help people with opportunities.
That's great.
and things like that. Thank you.
That's great.
And I want to keep my phone line open as well for those who are struggling completing the application. You can also call my office that we're not beating the deadline so that I can have that record in place to fight for the next round, or so I'll talk to the
Yeah,
commissioner.
and even as you're saying, right, well, some of this is hard and maybe not going to reach where you want it. That's good feedback for all of us to hear for next times that we're out trying to get more money out the door.
Representative Thompson?
That's real quick. Do you have more of these? I want to.
Yeah. There's
I
a-
stack this maybe for you, and then the other, I just wanted to coattail from the statement. To be honest, brutally honest, like 10 days is just not enough time. 10 days is not enough time, and we're on 9 days now, and the clock is ticking.
Mhm.
And so is there a chance we can extend the time?
I think you and I have to call the commissioner.
No, it's in statute. So no, the legislature made the decision of 10 days. The agency can't change that
So,
decision, so,
I
I mean,
said that is because I say again, like, any decisions made for us without us turn out to be this, 10 days. And so, just something to think about, because the money, if you don't use it all, the money goes back, right?
right. I mean, but we'll be able to use all the money. But absolutely, we agree that the 10 days is a short timeline, and our hands are tied on fixing it. Because
People look at this and say, well, I got 10 days to just do this, Or, I mean, it's always like red tape, especially when it comes to like this community. It's always like red tape you have to navigate through, and then like, here's another. It's just something to put on people's mind, when
Oh,
the
yeah.
next round,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No,
But I want to get the word out, so maybe like 40.
well, there are some available here, just because I brought some and what's left over. Then I'll go back. There's 3 left over? Okay.
And
These are in months, but you can have them, yes.
I would personally make sure, next time, not to put too much trust on our leadership. Not that they're not doing their work well, but we kind of depend on our committee chair and our caucus chair to do the negotiation. So this is kind of something that we overlooked. Yeah. So.
Well, and this bill went till the very last minute in the middle of the night in a small room of people getting it done, right? So it happened that way, and it happened fast, and we're working with the rules that we got from the legislature.
Yes, Batu.
I look at the flying, I don't see, is there any site that we can go and apply for?
Yes, so that one, the deed /
To the MN?
mscrg, because that stands for Main Street COVID Relief Grant.
Well, my second question is, we have 9 days to go, which is good. That we all here will qualify. Is that true?
Yeah.
So, because $62 million, it take many people to
Yeah,
draw their money
yeah.
out. The last question is, I kind of heard back and forth, to qualify this grant, you have to show loss on your revenue 2019-20, or it's not,
You have to show
that you lost?
the loss between 2020 and 2019.
If you don't,
If you were not a business that got shut down by executive order. If you're a business that got shut down through one of the executive orders in the pandemic, right, so restaurants, bars, movie theaters, lots of people, right, there were lots of orders that ordered industry to stop or restrict their businesses. They all qualify. They all qualify as being financial hardship because they were industries that were shut down. But lots of businesses didn't get shut down but still had a hard time. And those are the ones where we'll ask for the revenue to compare from 2020 to 2019. So you have two ways to show financial hardship to qualify because they're COVID relief grants. Either by having been shut down or by losing revenue.
And I want to spend I want to reserve a little time to also inform folks about the revitalization program, which is not really connected to COVID-19, but you could also apply for it too. There's a part of $70 million for business revitalization. If you can answer that, if anybody have question on that, will you be able to?
Yeah, a little bit. We were talking about
Okay.
there, like you said, there's other programming and availability at Deed.
Right. This is mainly for COVID-19 relief, and we have to do it fast. We have 9 days to go. So I want to get this out and inform people. We tried to set it for last week, but due to schedule conflict and it just fall on this day. We still have time, and I'm sure that you will go on and apply and not. And the reason you hear with Ms. Ramirez here is that she's very approachable and accessible too. I mean, we don't want to bombard her with phone call, but if you can reach her, she can help you out as well. Email. So then it becomes personable when you are here and get to meet her. I mean, I had heard words from the community. She came on to one of my Facebook Live one time, and people who knew her then, reached out to her and got help. So I was hoping that those of small group that you are here could get to know her directly in person. So you have a question?
Yeah, just to confirm,
Yeah.
so if you have multiple businesses, you can only apply for one business, right?
Right.
Okay.
Yep. One owner, one
Okay.
business.
So you can't apply for, if you have like 4 or 5, you can't apply, you can only apply to just one, right?
Yeah.
Perfect.
And for nonprofits,
Yeah.
are they addressed in the frequently asked questions?
Yeah, the nonprofit, the language in the statute says nonprofits that operate like a business, similar to a business. And that, yes, so a nonprofit that charges some fee for service, and that when the nonprofit does their taxes, and you're looking at their 990, that you have earned more of you've earned 50% of your revenue as a nonprofit from your services, your fee for services, and not your development and grants. So that's the specific kind of math that we're looking for from nonprofits to qualify as a nonprofit that operates like a business. It's kind of limiting.
Thank you. That's
Yeah.
helpful.
And perhaps maybe before you leave, since you're from Clues, and maybe I should do a little promo, just a short one, to have people go on there. And I can do it, Mom, you can help me with Spanish.
Yes, absolutely.
And we can do something like that. Anybody here speaks Somali, we can do one tidbit like that.
Perfect.
and put it online.
For sure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Let's see. And do we need help with translation? I can do reiterate again shortly in Hmong that you like to 别做卡着咩，但好normal做完ที่หนึ่งก็โจ้ซะนะแต่เป็นสายช่างแต่จะสุดละไม่มองจนแต่ไกลขอโน่นนะขอ mn.gov .eed mscrg แต่คลองเดียวอย่าเป็นจีตต้นสิเราไม่รู้ตัวติด office อย่าเจ้า GE อ๋อ做เจ้า GE 也คือเป็นมาเลยป้าจะไม่ก็ต้องสิลูกเขาพาแต่ข้าก็ไม่ป้อไม่ apply ไปหมดโจนู้นเลยซึ่งยังไม่สั่งเตาเขาโปรแกรมเนาะจะเป็นมาเลยป้าไหม So any question or you can ask more than just the COVID-19 relief grant here. You can talk about the revitalization program, how that gonna be handled. Yes, go ahead.
Just to clarify the financial statements, I know there's like the revenues, like what should I tell our business owners? Like 3 months of bank statements, or like, it seems very vague.
It might be more specific in the
Okay.
portal, in the questions. So we can look at that.
Okay, sounds
Yeah.
great. Awesome.
Yeah.
So, yep, go
One more?
ahead.
So for future, you know, like grants and things that you guys have out, I think like, you guys talk about the promotion piece. How do we be aware that stuff like this is coming up for the future? Like, is there a newsletter that we can sign up for? Or-
Yeah, probably, maybe 2 ways you can be learning about these. Yes, the deed has a big listserv, right, email that you can go on and say, I want to get notified when grants and contracts become available. I've been hosting a weekly Wednesday afternoon, I call it a community call, that's just wide open. And we cover different topics every week, and I can share some sign-up information about that. It's kind of an easy way to drop in and hear what's some of the latest stuff that we're doing. Those are, and then the governor, there's some good listservs have the governor's office too that are real focused on communities of color, and you get kind of a bigger picture of not just what DEED is doing, but other state opportunities that I think is a good one to sign up for too.
And under the website, you can subscribe, and when they have any announcement, they will send it to you automatically.
Yep, and we also on our YouTube channel, you could watch, if you wanted to hear this again, or hear more specific things about it, there's 2 sessions on our YouTube channel that are recorded that walk through the eligibility for COVID relief grants. Brandon does those, Brandon runs the program. I help out, like the senator said, and do some outreach and stuff, but it's not my program, and so I don't have as many program details for you, but I'm trying to promote it. But so our YouTube channel, you could always check that one too.
Okay, if no one have any question, then we can wrap up and we can take this time to just mingle, but be mindful of social distancing. If possible, we can, get out this room and be outside too, so we can be spread out. But Maria gonna be here for another 20 minutes or so, so you can get to know her, and there may be chance that she can help you more directly as well. So, and I want to thank again Lisa, District 2 Council, for organizing this, and and the 2 Hmong TV. I'm sure that our presentation are keeping fairly pace. So if those of you had language problem understanding, I just wanted you to check on the website and apply now. Gentlemen, apply then she knows it. Okay. All right. Yes, Lisa?
Can I just ask if anyone did not sign in when they came in, if you could make sure you sign in on your way out? That'd be great. Thank you.
Yeah. So I also want to acknowledge 30,000 Feet, one of the organization is here, Kevin's here, who work with our young people, our youth. And Cruz here, Hap is here, Isaba is here. Any other nonprofit agency? Oh, the Whole United is here. And, yeah, so thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, and is it Progressive Baptist Church, Pastor Miller? Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Yeah. So thank you all, and just mingle.
Yeah, I'll be here.
And talk to Maria.